Deborra-Lee Furness finally speaks out after Hugh Jackman's new life went public. 27 years. That is how long Deborra-Lee Furness stood by Hugh Jackman before he walked into a new life with someone else. And 20 months after their amicable separation announcement, she finally said the word she had been holding back: betrayal. One statement to the Daily Mail that changed everything the public thought they knew about why the marriage ended. One quiet, devastating word that made the timeline suddenly make sense. Because between their polite September 2023 announcement and her May 2025 statement, something happened. Hugh Jackman's new life went public, and Deborra-Lee stopped pretending it had been mutual. I will tell you what she said and why it matters. But first, let me show you who she was in that marriage. Because to understand what Deborra-Lee Furness finally spoke about, you have to understand the kind of woman who can stand beside a man for nearly 3 decades, raise a family, protect his image through every whisper and rumor, and then watch him walk into a new relationship while the world called her gracious.
Deborra-Lee.
Hi, wow.
Nice to meet
You're
you.
something.
Huh? You think I'm going to share that with you all?
Love is not enough. It's not always enough.
Let me tell you who this woman actually is. Long before the separation, Deborra-Lee Furness had already lived a full life of her own. She was an accomplished Australian actress and producer. She had adopted 2 children with Hugh, becoming a fierce advocate for adoption reform in Australia. She was 13 years older than Hugh, and from the beginning, she carried that age difference with dignity, while tabloids made it a headline. When they met on the set of an Australian TV show in 1996, he was the unknown actor. She was the established star, and she chose him anyway. They married that same year, and for the next 27 years, she stood beside him as his career exploded into something neither of them could have imagined. Wolverine, Les Miserables, The Greatest Showman. Hugh Jackman became one of the most beloved men in Hollywood. And through it all, Deborra-Lee was the steady ground, the one who raised their children largely out of the spotlight, the one who smiled through every red carpet question about why they did not have biological kids, why she looked her age while he seemed ageless, whether the marriage was really as perfect as it appeared. She never corrected the narrative. She protected it. Because that is what you do when you love someone. You protect the life you built together, even when it costs you. Now, here is where the timeline starts to tell a different story than the headlines did. On September 15, 2023, Hugh Jackman and Deborra-Lee Furness released a joint statement. It was warm, it was soft kind. It said they had been blessed to share almost 3 decades together in a wonderful, loving marriage. It said their journey was now shifting, and they had decided to separate to pursue their individual growth. It asked for privacy as their family navigated this transition. The world read that statement and thought, what a graceful, mutual parting. 2 people who loved each other, grew apart, and were handling it with dignity. And for a year and a half, that was the story. Deborra-Lee stayed quiet. She did not give interviews. She did not post cryptic messages. She let the narrative stand exactly as they had written it together. An amicable separation, individual growth, a respectful end to a long marriage. But while Deborra-Lee was staying quiet, Hugh Jackman was falling in love. Or, depending on who you ask, had already been in love with a woman named Sutton Foster, his co-star from the Broadway revival of The Music Man, which had run from 2021 to 2023, the show that was happening during the final years of his marriage to Deborra-Lee, the show where, according to multiple Broadway insiders, everyone knew what was really going on. And on January 6, 2025, the photos went everywhere. Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster in Santa Monica, walking hand in hand, smiling, the kind of candid, intimate photos that said this was not new, this was comfortable. This had been happening for a while. The world saw those photos and thought, oh, that is why the marriage ended. But Deborra-Lee had known longer than the world did. She just had not said anything yet. That is the moment everything changed. Because 4 months later, in May of 2025, Deborra-Lee Furness filed for divorce, nearly 2 years after the separation announcement. And when the Daily Mail reached out for comment, she did not repeat the amicable language from their joint statement. She did not talk about mutual growth or shifting journeys. She said this: "My heart and compassion goes out to everyone who has traversed the traumatic journey of betrayal. It is a profound wound that cuts deep. Betrayal, not separation, not growing apart, not pursuing individual paths. Betrayal, the word that breaks the spell of every polite joint statement. The word that says, this was not what we told you it was. This was not mutual. This was not graceful. This was something that happened to me, not something I chose." And if you have ever been in a relationship where you protected the other person's image long after they stopped protecting you, you know exactly what it costs to finally say that word out loud. To stop carrying the story they wanted the world to believe. To admit that while you were being gracious, you were also being devastated. Deborra-Lee Furness is, by every account from people who know her, one of the most dignified women in the industry. She spent decades advocating for children, for adoption reform, for causes that mattered to her. She raised 2 kids largely away from the cameras. She showed up to every premiere, every award show, every moment that mattered to Hugh, and she smiled. She made it look easy. She made it look like a partnership. And the cost of that dignity was this. When the marriage ended, the world assumed she was fine, that she had agreed, that she was moving forward with grace and mutual respect. No one stopped to ask what it felt like to read that joint statement, to let the world believe it was her choice too, and then to watch him move on so publicly with someone else. Because here is what the timeline actually shows. Hugh and Sutton met during The Music Man. The show opened in February of 2022. It closed in January of 2023. 8 months later, in September, Hugh and Deborra-Lee announced their separation. 14 months after that, in January of 2025, Hugh and Sutton went public. And according to people who worked on that Broadway production, the relationship was not a surprise. One insider told the press, Sutton and Hugh's relationship is the reason Hugh and Deborra-Lee got divorced. A lot of people on Broadway knew, and we kept it quiet because both of them are so nice and great people. They kept it quiet, the people who knew. But Deborra-Lee, the woman who had stood by him for 27 years, had to find out the same way the rest of us did, by watching him walk hand in hand with someone else, by seeing the photos, by reading the headlines that said he had moved on, found love again, was happy, and she still stayed quiet for 4 more months until she filed for divorce, until the Daily Mail asked her for comment. And then finally, she stopped protecting the narrative. She used the word that told the truth, betrayal. And if you have ever stayed silent while someone else told the story of your life, you know what it costs to finally speak, to name the thing that everyone politely avoided naming, to stop making it easy for them to move forward while you stayed stuck in the version they needed the world to believe. The relief is not in the word itself. The relief is in finally putting down the weight of carrying their truth instead of yours. This reminds me of something we have seen before on this channel, the woman who protects the marriage long after the marriage stopped protecting her. Shania Twain did the same thing, the woman with her own career, her own name, who made herself the steady ground for a man who eventually walked away. Different details, same fundamental shape, the one who gives the most is so often the last to be defended. And I think a lot of women watching this know exactly what that costs. To be the one who keeps everything together, to carry the weight so gracefully that no one, including your husband, stops to ask whether you are tired, whether you saw it coming, whether you agreed to any of it. There is a particular kind of woman who holds a family together for decades, and the cruelty is that she does it so well, everyone assumes she is fine when it falls apart. Deborra-Lee held it together for 27 years. She held it through the joint statement, she held it through the separation, she held it through watching him go public with someone else, and then finally, she let the truth do what it does best. She let it speak. So, now we arrive at the part she actually, finally, chose to say out loud. I promised you at the beginning that there was one word from her statement that stopped me cold. That word was betrayal. But the rest of what she said is just as important. Because Deborra-Lee Furness did not just name what happened to her, she told the world how she survived it. She said, "I believe in a higher power, and that God, the universe, whatever you relate to as your guidance, is always working for us. This belief has helped me navigate the breakdown of an almost 3-decade marriage. Even when we are presented with apparent adversity, it is leading us to our greatest good, our true purpose." Read that again. It is leading us to our greatest good, our true purpose. Not, "I am broken." Not, "He destroyed me." Not, "I will never trust again." She said, "This is leading me somewhere better. This is part of my purpose. The thing that tried to destroy me is actually working for me." That is not denial. That is not pretending it did not hurt. She called it betrayal. She named the wound. But she also refused to let the wound be the end of the story. She decided that the woman who walked away from 27 years with Hugh Jackman was not less than the woman who walked into it. She was more, because she had survived the end of a marriage under the brightest spotlight in the world. The humiliation of watching your ex move on publicly while you were still processing privately, The choice between protecting his image one more time or finally telling your truth. And she chose her truth. Not with bitterness, not with revenge. With one word: betrayal. And then, with the rest of her life, she chose to believe that the betrayal was not the point. The survival was. At 58, after 27 years of marriage, Deborra-Lee Furness finally stopped carrying the story Hugh Jackman needed the world to believe. She put it down. She said the word, and then she walked into the rest of her life with the same dignity she had always had. But this time, the dignity was for herself. I have thought about that a great deal since I read her statement, because there is something almost unbearable about a woman who is so loyal, so protective of the life she built, that she will smile through a joint statement that does not tell the whole truth. And there is something quietly magnificent about the day she finally decides she does not owe anyone that protection anymore, not even him. If you have ever been betrayed by someone you protected, you know the hardest part was not the betrayal itself. The hardest part was the moment you realized you were still protecting them, still holding the narrative together, still making it easy for them to move forward, while you stayed stuck in the story they needed you to tell. Deborra-Lee Furness held it for 27 years, and then, with one word, she let it go. She did not write a tell-all. She did not go on television to destroy his reputation. She did not air every private hurt. She simply stopped pretending that the end of the marriage had been mutual. And in doing that, she gave every woman watching permission to stop pretending too, to name the thing, to call it what it was, and then to believe, as she does, that even this, even the worst of it, is leading somewhere better. If this story stayed with you, there is another woman we covered who walked a nearly identical road. Shania Twain, who stood by Mutt Lange for 15 years, only to discover he had been sharing their life with her best friend. Same kind of loyalty, same kind of devastation, same choice to name it and then move forward. I think you would see the same strength in both of them. I will have that story waiting for you, right here at the end.